Hello. The other day I mentioned that Fact, the art house cinema in Liverpool and gallery, was doing a screening of a live event. In that instance, it was the book launch of the Testaments, um, and that was being broadcast around the country at different cinemas. It's not only that kind of event that's broadcast at Fact and other cinemas, and you've probably noticed this if you go to the cinema on a regular basis, that these days they tend to screen a lot of live events from theatres around the country as well. And it's a brilliant initiative. I think it's a really good idea. It means that more and more people are experiencing shows from the theatre, plays, usually the National Theatre live. Sometimes they're recorded and broadcast at a later date, but generally they're live. NT Live is what to look out for. So it's a great opportunity to see a lot of plays and shows that you wouldn't normally if you don't live in and around the London area at a cinema. So you get more of that kind of live feel to something as well. And it's, yeah, like I said, it's a really brilliant initiative, and I guess it's good for the cinemas because it brings in a slightly different audience and means that there are the necessary bums on seats as much as possible. Well, tonight I'm actually going to a similar event at Fact in Liverpool, and this is a broadcast of a incredibly highly anticipated one-woman show written and starring an actress and writer called Phoebe Waller-Bridge. The show's called Fleabag, which might be familiar to some of you, as it has been, I should say, a very popular and very commercially and critically well-received sitcom on BBC over the past couple of years. I think Series 2 aired at the beginning of this year, and I think the first series was maybe a couple of years ago now. And it's something that I've talked about before, not on these blogs, but certainly on the podcast that I recorded with Matt O'Regan, our Scribbles podcast. I've sort of waxed lyrical about that sitcom in the past, but I'm going to revisit it just for those who are of the uninitiated or people who've not seen Fleabag before. As sitcoms go, it's a kind of fairly standard storyline, I guess. It's about the sort of trials and tribulations, the friendships and the relationships of a woman in her, I think we're supposed to think she's in her early 30s, living in and around London. Nothing too original so far. However, the writing is absolutely brilliant. It's incisive, it's cutting, it's dark humour, it's dry and witty. The characters are really brought to life. Not just the main character, the Fleabag, whose name we never find out, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, brilliantly performed, but also the other characters. Her sister is probably the other main character, but also her stepmother, played by the brilliant Olivia Colman, and a whole host of kind of strange and wonderful sort of side characters. It feels very real, it feels very genuine. There are surreal moments in it as well, which keeps you on your toes as an audience member, and there is a repetitive fourth wall break whereby the main character turns to the audience and speaks to them, revealing her kind of inner thoughts, whilst they often juxtapose what she actually says to other characters, which of course creates humour from that. Fleabag, as I said, was really well received commercially and critically, and I think it feels like it's sort of breath of fresh air for sitcoms, which are a genre which, although they do very well in America, seems to have had a kind of bit of an up and down relationship in the UK over the past few years, despite the fact that we always think of Britain as having a kind of golden era of sitcoms, which I suppose was around the 1970s. Whilst maybe some of the techniques aren't wholly original and some of the storyline isn't, completely game-changing, as I said, there is a sort of authenticity and a freshness to the series, and I would definitely implore all of you to watch it if you've not seen it before. Be warned, it can be quite rude at times. It's certainly something that you probably would be careful as to who you watched it with. It might feel a bit uncomfortable watching it with your gran, but it's a great series and very, very funny ultimately. And I'd say thematically it does follow a lot of the conventions of sitcom. Remember seeing Graham Linehan, the writer of Father Ted and the IT Crowd, amongst many other very funny things. And for him, he said that one thing that all good sitcoms have in common is that their central characters are trapped in some way. Usually that's through an occupation or their situation. But I would say with Fleabag, she's sort of trapped by her own inability to form meaningful, lasting relationships. She's sort of trapped by herself, if you like. Anyway, the thing that I'm seeing tonight is the one-woman show that Phoebe Waller-Bridge wrote and directed that led to the TV show. She's reprised this one-woman show really in light of the popularity of the sitcom itself. So I'm very excited and hotly anticipating that it's going to be great, hopefully. But on Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I mean, this is her sort of crowning glory, I guess, Fleabag, but she is an actress who's been in a number of other TV shows in the past. She has written other sitcoms as well, but now she's being employed as a writer on other bases. She has been taken on board as a sort of script doctor, if you like, for the new James Bond film, and some are suggesting that the reason for that is to maybe try and curb some of the potentially inherent sexism that appears in James Bond films, although I'm sure that's more for publicity than anything else. She does write fantastic dialogue. She does have an ear for that kind of realism, if you like. Meanwhile, she's also an actress in her own right as well. Even when she doesn't necessarily appear on screen, she provided the voice of the droid L337 in the last Star Wars movie to come out, Solo. So she's definitely a multi-talented person. I guess we call her a polymath, alongside other young writers, directors and actors, like her co-star in Solo, Lando Calrissian, or the actor Donald Glover, also known as Childish Gambino, the kind of people who just make you absolutely sick with how talented they are. Anyway, if you've not seen any of the stuff by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, as you can tell, I'm a big fan. Maybe not quite to the extent of the fanatics we were talking about yesterday, but certainly she's someone to watch and someone to follow her career with great interest. So, if it's rubbish, I'll let you know, I suppose. But I think it will be great. Anyway, just a short one today, so thanks very much. See you later.